This event is so much more than just a race. It is a veritable festival of motorsport. So much action from the start of the weekend all the way through, a roaring crescendo through to today's action and the Grand Prix of Long Beach. Time to throw to your Acura starting grid for the 2025 Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Santino Ferrucci, Woodbury, Connecticut.
I'm Jacob Abel from Louisville, Kentucky.
Rinus VK, Hoofddorp, the Netherlands.
Robert Schwartzman, born in Israel, Tel Aviv.
Devon DiFrancesco, Toronto, Ontario.
I'm Callum Wylock, I'm from Cambridge in the UK.
Connor Daly from Noblesville, Indiana.
Louis Foster, Odium, England.
Stingray Rob, Hayat, Idaho.
Christian Rasmussen, I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark.
Hi, I'm Kevin Simpson from the Cayman Islands.
Graham Rahal, Columbus, Ohio.
Josef Newgarden, Nashville, Tennessee.
I'm Scott Dixon, driver of the number 9 PNC Bank Honda from Auckland, New Zealand.
Will Power, Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia.
I'm Christian Lundgaard from Vejle, Denmark.
Nolan Siegel, Palo Alto, California.
I'm David Malukas, grown up in Chicago, Illinois.
Pato Award, Monterrey, Mexico.
Alexander Rossi, Nevada City, California.
Marcus Armstrong, Christchurch, New Zealand.
Scott McLaughlin, Christchurch, New Zealand.
Marcus Eriksson, Kumla, Sweden.
Felix Rosenqvist, Värnamo, Sweden.
Hello, I'm Alex Palou. I'm from Barcelona, Spain.
I'm Colton Herta from Valencia, California.
I'm Kyle Kirkwood from Jupiter, Florida.
50 years of the Grand Prix of Long Beach, and two gentlemen have 10 wins between them. Alonso Jr. with 6, Mario Andretti with 4,
Race fans,
and they will take the command.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome your co-grand marshals, IndyCar legends, Mario Andretti and Al Unser Jr.
Drivers, start your engines!
Well, cars firing up, getting ready to roll for the Grand Prix of Long Beach. So much expectation here today, guys, and the grid is set up perfectly.
It really is, and the best part about Long Beach at the start is the unknown when we get down to turn 1. How big do the drivers go? How big does this guy get a ride in the back? Nicholas Alexander Chavez, mouth open. I'm not sure I see any breathing going on, but the air's hitting his face.
Yeah, I could talk to him a little bit before the start of the race, and he was absolutely just thrilled with his experience here at Long Beach. Was so excited to get in the 2-seater. He said he's never been around a street circuit at speed before, and it's looking like he's enjoying it.
The grid set up perfectly. It's an all Andretti, front row, Kyle Kirkwood and Colton Herta. Then your reigning champion and the man who leads the championships, Alex Palou, ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, Marcus Ericsson, Scott McLaughlin. Your top 6 as the drivers roll onto track. And one driver will be taking a keen interest today. Didn't have a great qualifying session, Josef Newgarden.
Yeah, let's see if we can get Josef here on the radio and have a few words with him before we go green. Hey, Josef, it's Hinch up here in the Fox booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, copy. On the third inch.
Look, man, after qualifying, we saw the frustration, the consternation on your face for having been held up. You thought you had fast 6 pace in the car. Down in 15th, you know how to win this race. You did it back here in 22. What's it going to take from 15th on the grid? Is it flat-out pace, passing guys? Is it strategy? What's the plan?
Yeah, I think there's no choice today but to just try and drive forward, pass people at the end of the day. This team's done a great job this weekend. It's one of the best cars I've had on a racetrack in my entire career. So I'm focused on, my job, just trying to put in good laps. We got to have great stops, a good strategy, but this team can do it. I always believe, and so let's see how this thing turns out. You always try and predict these races, and they turn it other ways. So it's a great thing about IndyCar, but we have tons of opportunity today to try and get to the front.
Yeah, you do, buddy. Well, we look forward to a good show as you move forward. Best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy the show.
Josef Newgarden 7th in the championship at the minute. Sandwiched between Kirkwood and Herta, our front row sitters. Let's take a look around the Grand Prix of Long Beach and this incredible, challenging circuit, Townsend.
The Acura track preview, it starts down Shoreline Drive, 180 miles an hour until the heaviest brake zone on the track. That's where they will fire in 2-3 wide for the start.
Funnels down to just one lane there. You often see issues in that scenic fountain. Then down here through turn 4, it's downhill and sets you up for turn 5, where it's all about curbs and a strong exit for the run down to 6.
Leads to another great passing opportunity on the brakes for turn 6. I love this corner, so smooth at the exit. You can really lean into the power aggressively. This potentially the most treacherous on the track. Turn 8, very tough to stay off the wall.
Tough when you're trying to make a pass, but down here in turn 9, we've seen guys in that runoff all through practice and qualifying. That's where Lundgaard hit the wall. Then turn 10, tough to balance in IndyCar around that seemingly never-ending left-hander until the famous hairpin.
And the slowest corner on the entire schedule, just 31 miles an hour across the middle for turn 11 at Long Beach. No other place on the planet just like it.
The slowest speed on the track is actually slightly faster than you're legally normally allowed to go around these streets. Guys, we heard from Josef Newgarden sitting there in that car. Let's take a closer look at exactly what that driver position looks like in the office space that you guys know.
Well, Josef Newgarden, one of the fittest drivers, maybe one of the fitter athletes in all of sports. A lot of people ask about the physicality behind the wheel of an IndyCar, and thanks to this Dallara cutaway, we go inside and show you how dramatically different just the pedals are driving an IndyCar. Big fat brake pedal, equally fat wide throttle pedal. The drivers are secured through a 6-point harness, James. We'll see that as we blow off the bodywork.
And the important thing to notice here is that the driver's rear end actually sits lower than your feet. It's almost like having your feet up on the faucet of a bathtub. That's all about getting that driver weight low. You're lean back. You're in a custom molded bead seat that keeps you comfy and tight and safe.
And even though you're secure, it is violent inside, and 90 laps is a long time around here. And Kevin, it looks like the sun is popping on pit lane.
And Townsend, only 6 are starting on the hard compound, and no one farther up than Christian Lundgaard starting in 12. Those 6 have a chance of making it a 2-stopper if they get some help with cautions to shorten the soft stint, and it includes Scott Dixon, last year's winner. The rest on the soft green side wells want to get rid of them as soon as possible because they don't last very long. And those up front are changing at the first caution. If it stays green, they'll change between laps 5 and 12. To Jack Harvey.
One of the guys that I'm really going to pay attention to today, it's not a surprise, it's Will Power. He's had 18 starts here. He's the 3rd best average finish of about 6.5. So a guy who was the highest mover on the previous weekend at Thermal, he's my guy I'm watching today.
With the driver's eye camera, beautiful innovation for this weekend. We'll see that all the way through the race. The Acura pace car leads them down the back stretch into that treacherous turn 9 where we've seen people go off all the way through this weekend. Anticipation now rising for the 50th running of this race. The Acura pace car will lead them to green. Which one of these 27 drivers of the 2025 NTT INDYCAR Series will take the checkered flag today to place their names alongside the immortals of this sport? 50 years we've been racing here. There is perhaps no more legendary street circuit on earth. The pace car pulls in. They will line up 2 by 2, and on this phenomenal, legendary circuit, we roll to green, and at the Grand Prix of Long Beach, we are now racing. Kyle Kirkwood leading his teammate down the straight and down towards turn 1. High speed and heavy braking as they open up and try to make that move immediately.
Kyle Kirkwood with the advantage, but further back they are 3 wide. Looked like Marcus Ericsson jamming his way in there. Alexander Rossi with a really nice move in that light blue and yellow Splenda car.
That's a huge jump from Rossi driving for ECR. You see a pair of McLarens, a trio of McLarens all lined up there, single file, a little bit of a defensive move there, but so far no incident.
Kyle Kirkwood doing exactly what he needed to do off the line there. No incidents between himself and his teammate, he said, as Newgarden has a look up the inside of Dixon, gets that done with a lovely instinctive move on the opening lap.
Scott Dixon was looking pretty defensive on that straightaway. Now he gets challenged again, or is challenging again to the outside as
Rasmussen made a move on the inside of Kiffin Simpson. Big dive as we see now Newgarden trying to defend against Dixon. He's on those harder tires, not able to mount the attack.
A lot of desperation early on if you're 10th or farther back, especially for drivers like Dixon and Newgarden, used to the sharp end of this grid. They know they have to make positions early. Newgarden said that was the goal. Make passes, be aggressive. There's only one option. Meanwhile, two young American drivers looking to become two-time winners here at Long Beach.
As Alexander Rossi defends from Marcus Ericsson, former teammates.
If Rossi, I'm trying to figure out if he was trying to defend from Ericsson or if he was trying to attack Palou. This guy has the bit between his teeth, was confident coming into the weekend, guys, but then after practice one, it was all sorts of sideways. The car was not there, the grip was not there. They threw the kitchen sink at it for qualifying, and it seems to be working.
Alexander Rossi, of course, has won here twice before, but a big salary payment in the offseason to bring him into this team at Carpenter Racing to deliver these sort of quarterback-like performances, leading his organization forward methodically. I talked with his father this morning about exactly that, how they just want to keep taking one step at a time and growing the program with Alexander's leadership. He's doing it today.
David Malukas in the AJ Foyt entry, the number 4 car, having a good look at the back of Marcus Armstrong in the Meyer Shank. And when we talk about Meyer Shank, Felix Rosenquist, sitting P3 at the moment, has taken that position over from Alex Palou, who's dropped 2 positions from the start. Your championship leader, Rosenquist, of course, on the pole here last year.
And for all these drivers, James, that have started on the soft tire, you are settling into tire conversation. But not Josef Newgarden. He is not conserving anything. He is dropping those softs immediately and going right to the hard tire. Going to try to make it now on 2 more stops.
You have to do at least 2 laps on each compounded tire. They got through the 2 laps on the softs with Josef Newgarden. They came immediately in. That's a bold strategy call. But from 15th place, Townsend, I like it. Let's roll the dice. If you do the same as the rest of the cars, you're not going anywhere, but you might make a couple spots up. That could be a race-winning move when we get down 50, 60 laps in.
Crucially, puts him into clean air at the back of the field all by himself to go and set some laps. Jack?
No, I think that's a great move there. The pit stop is about 38 seconds here, so that's more than half a lap. The team have just put him in clear air for what is going to be a lot of laps here. They're going to be critical. This outlap's going to be critical, but I actually really like this move from the 2 car there.
And I can tell you from experience, I mean, clean air is king around Long Beach. You can have such a huge pace advantage. As we're on board now with Pato O'Ward trying to line up. Who's that in front of him?
Clear.
David Malukas, yeah, got that deal done, nicely done into turn 1, and what a great view. That Fox driver's eye camera giving us the front row seat to a great move.
The other thing I can appreciate is on the south end of the circuit, the sun is really popping. A little bit of cloud cover still on the north end of the track, this part, but the track temperature is going to be rising very quickly here, and that'll make it that much more difficult for drivers on the soft tires, which is everybody in the top 10 right now.
That Josef Newgarden stop now putting some of his rivals into mind of whether they should do the same. Graham Rahal and Rasmussen have made the stop. Newgarden should get past them on the exit of pit lane, and it looks from my map as though he's done that, so he's out ahead of Rahal and Rasmussen. How many more will come in and stop this time around?
Now, this is that phase of the race where the drivers that started on the softs really have to think about taking care of those tires. You kind of started talking about it, Townsend. These things have to last as long as possible. The window opens around 5, but if you can get to 12, 15, maybe even 18, that can really set you up well if the pace doesn't drop off.
And you get to lap 32 on the soft tires. I think the truth is nobody really knows. The gamble that Newgarden and Team Penske made is that nobody will be able to make it on 2 stops today because of the soft tires not lasting. But we've been wrong before. The drivers and teams have been wrong before. And the only way to find out is to do what Kirkwood and Herta and Rosenquist are doing. Stay out and just wait for the feel. Wait for the stopwatch to tell you whether or not you're having an issue on pace and that the degradation is too much.
And the big thing for Newgarden right now is he does have to save fuel. He's got 2 more stops. Essentially everyone else still 3. He's got that clean air. He's got to go fast, but he has got to make that fuel number.
And who's the fastest man on track right now, guys? It's Josef Newgarden, a 1:09.0. That's a 1.5 seconds faster than your race leader, Kyle Kirkwood.
That tells you they're already starting to fall off. That's Malukas, we saw diving into pit lane there. And Herta's in as well.
Get those 1.5 turns out if possible.
Trying to take 1.5 turns of front wing out of the car. We see Scott McLaughlin on the Dex imaging machine. He is in and out. Josef Newgarden has set a trend, doing it from 15th. These are the guys up at the front making this move. How does Kirkwood react? How does
Oh, very close. Herta and McLaughlin side by side, and it's a long stretch down. That funnels on the way out.
McLaughlin was ahead, but because it's a curved pit lane, I think Colton was driving a shorter distance. Advantage Herta at the exit.
Careful here, though. It's so easy to lock up on full tanks and cold, hard tires at the end of the straight. This is going to be a battle on this L lap to see who can capitalize. Tires are cold, car is heavy.
It's a great point. The first few corners are literally like driving in the rain. It's that slippery. Heavy cars, low grip.
And guys, right behind him on the racetrack, Josef Newgarden. He is already caught up with the drivers that were running in the top 5.
And the one thing the drivers were telling us earlier this weekend, this harder tire takes longer to bring it in. Newgarden's tires will already be up to temperature. He'll have the pace as he goes for the move. Immediately up and through. A wonderful move from Scott McLaughlin to take that position away from Colton Herta, as now Newgarden will be catching them both. Palou in.
Look at Newgarden, there he is. Colton Herta under pressure big time from Team Penske. They are attacking at just the right time. You called it, Hinch. Newgarden brilliantly making the early stop work.
And Herta sideways trying to get the power down out of turn 11, down the long stretch into turn 1. Can he make the move? Can he do what his teammate Scott McLaughlin did just a few corners to go, as now everyone barreling out of pit lane? And these guys with their tires up to temperature, right into the middle of it.
McLaughlin's going to get massively held up here by Ericsson as he gets a little touch there. Newgarden into the back of Herta. Now McLaughlin down the inside. Teammates side by side into 5. This is not a good passing spot.
Oh, Ericsson locks up again. Newgarden now almost spins out, trying to get to the throttle early.
This the difference between tires that are cold, tires that are up to temperature, as Newgarden knows he has to find his way through and does it perfectly, instinctively, and straight away.
This is absolute madness and chaos.
Looks like Gordon Ramsay out there with all the hatchet jobs going on. They are chopping each other everywhere, and look who is in pit lane. Kyle Kirkwood, race leader.
So Armstrong takes over at the head of the field. Lundgaard, who started on the hard tire, currently sits P2. But where will Kirkwood come out? How much time has he lost? And where does it put him amongst all of these drivers who now do have their tires up to temperature and will be able to fight to take that advantage immediately and instinctively? We wait for them to head down Shoreline Drive.
And there goes Colton Herta. Here comes Rossi blending back out just next to Newgarden.
So Kirkwood managed to make it stick. All this fighting back and forth held these guys up. Rossi now at the front of this train. So we see a car going a little, that's coming out of pit lane. That's Rinus VeeKay. But look at that train behind the 20 of Rossi. He's got a lineup of cars with push to pass, trigger fingers, and warm tires. Here comes now that power down the inside.
Power inside of O'Ward.
Rahal up and having a look at Malukas. Can't get it done on David Malukas. But the battle right now for the de facto lead is that of Kirkwood, as Ericsson has a look at Rossi. They get very close and almost touch. So Lundgaard now leads. Lundgaard, who started this race on hard tires. From Dixon, who started this race on hard tires. From Nolan Siegel, who has been battling food poisoning, is pretty sick today, but they filled him up with fluids and sent him out.
Marcus Ericsson looks to have a nice run on Alexander Rossi. Rossi defends to the inside. Ericsson fades out. They'll stay single file. Boy, Marcus Ericsson got really chewed up on that sequence of pit stops. There is the leader, Christian Lundgaard. 2.4 seconds clear, 2.5 now of Scott Dixon.
And he's not going to be pitting for a while, T-Bell. He started on those hards, so he's just running. And this is Kyle Kirkwood. He managed to get out ahead of Alex Palou, essentially leading him, making him one of the leaders.
Well, this is it. Might be on alternates, trying to confirm.
This is it, the man who led the start of this race. Alex Palou came in, made the stop, started P3, fell back at the start, but through this first pit cycle, which came so early in this race, Palou's been able to jump everyone around him and is now on the back of the man who started from pole position, who's trying to get those hard tires now up to temperature. If there's one guy you do not want in your mirrors in 2025, it is Alex Palou. He has won both races so far this season. Clinical tactician and masterful racer, and looming large behind the pole sitter.
This will be fun to watch, James, over the next few laps, because there's been no question this weekend that Kyle Kirkwood and the whole Andretti team, fastest team over one lap on new tires. The question is, how are you after 5, 10, 15 laps? That's where I think Alex Palou and Chip Ganassi and the Team Penske drivers might have the advantage.
Yeah, they've done it so many times in the past, and Palou, if you can't get it done in those first 2, 3 laps after a stop, now for him it's all about saving fuel and trying to go longer in the next round.
So it's Lundgaard who leads, having started on the hard. 2 different strategies here. Kirkwood down in 8th. From pole, Palou just behind him. Will keep you abreast of everything. Welcome back to the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, where the action is fast and frantic. Alexander Rossi currently down in P15. It appears to be something of a cork in the bottle, running about a half a second off the pace at the moment. Will Power just flew past him. How long before Pato O'Ward manages to do the same?
Yeah, tough phase of the race right now. All of the top 6 have yet to stop. They started on those hard tires, and they're going to go as long as possible. Maybe hope for a bit of a yellow stint to try to extend it, so that way they can cut down how many laps they have to do on those softs, which they eventually have to get to. But right now, Kirkwood pulling out over the cars behind.
And really, to date, we haven't seen anybody run more than about 10 laps all weekend on the soft tire, and I don't know that we will see anybody try today. For Christian Lundgaard, he almost certainly will have to still make 3 stops left today. As we ride on board, the Mission Foods on board, looking out the back. Just listen to Christian Lundgaard balance the throttle over the bumps here.
So that on track and the track map, you can see the 7 of Christian Lundgaard. That's your leader. 27 of Kyle Kirkwood. That is the leader on the alternate strategy, so to speak. So you got Lundgaard, who started on the hards, running along on the hards. That's strategy A. That's all the top 6. And then strategy B, Kyle Kirkwood, your pole sitter, started on those softs, pitted early, got them off, Palou and McLaughlin. So Palou essentially has moved up a few spots on that strategy in that sequence.
Palou's won the first 2 races of the season. He did so masterfully at St. Pete to start the year with great strategy decision. Let's listen to the team talking to their driver.
We are not worried about fuel enough.
Yeah, we're not worried about fuel right now, and they just told Kirkwood he needs to save some, so if we can get around him, that'll be a big advantage.
Interesting. You hear how calm Alex Palou is behind the wheel there, inquiring what's going on with the driver ahead. Is told by Ganassi, listen, our guy, the race leader, Kyle Kirkwood, may have to save. You do not have to. You can go after him, boy. Go have some fun.
Yeah, that's interesting because Palou pitted.
He pitted earlier.
A lap earlier.
That'll help us immensely. He's not going fast enough.
Kirkwood used an overtake. That's the calm voice of Barry Wanzer on the radio to Alex Palou. These two have had such a strong relationship, so much success together since Alex joined Chip Ganassi Racing.
So Kyle Kirkwood knows he's got a 3-time champion behind him. But Kyle Kirkwood also knows, hey, I've won on 2 different street circuits in my young IndyCar career. Streets of Nashville, very challenging, and right here in Long Beach. I think this guy's totally confident no matter who's behind him. Started on pole, and you look at the lap time comparisons, the last 3 laps, pretty comparable.
Kyle Kirkwood, who didn't take a win through the whole of 2024 as we sit on board, courtesy of Prefab, sponsoring his Andretti car this weekend. Didn't take a win all the way through 24. Talking to him in the run-up to the season, he said, I felt much better last year. I felt more complete as a driver. The one thing I couldn't get.
Cal, so we're watching Lundgaard and the guys that have not yet pit. So if you have a little bit more pace, that just covers us for them, but we don't want to risk anything to do it.
He said the one thing I couldn't get was that win. Wants to make amends on that. Fascinating to hear the strategy that they're telling him as regards the now race leader Lundgaard.
And if that voice sounds familiar, it is Brian Herta, the father of Colton Herta, who Kyle Kirkwood's competing with, Andretti teammate. Both of them going for the win today, and Herta's talking about the gap to Christian Lundgaard, which sits right now at 32 seconds. Brian Herta would like Kyle Kirkwood to just get a little bit more of a buffer before they make their next stop.
So it's Lundgaard leading from Dixon and Simpson. On an entirely different strategy, though, Kirkwood leads Palou. We got a race of multiple strategies here on the streets of Long Beach. April 27th on Fox, the stars of NASCAR head to Talladega for the biggest thrill ride of their year. The Jag Links 500 at Talladega, April 27th on Fox. And as we know, you love to watch IndyCar from all around the country. This is a watch party happening right now in Indianapolis, and we cannot wait to get back to Indy a little bit later on this month. I'm going to be moving out there a little bit later on this month, ready for the month of May. Back on track here at the streets of Long Beach, the Acura Grand Prix. We're talking about a great watch party. Probably no better position around the track than where we find Jack Harvey.
Inside of turn 11, honestly, outside of actually driving the car, I feel like this is probably as good as it gets. You're just watching the cars, they're coming into here, the slowest corner on the entire IndyCar schedule to one of the longest straights we go to, like 185 miles an hour. It has a lot of the rear tyres here, but turn 1's one of the best overtaking zones, one of the most critical corners on the entire track. And honestly, I'm just having a great time watching people fly by. And also, shout out to all the fans. I'm looking in the grandstands. I was actually there on Friday amongst it. This place is absolutely packed, and I love to see it.
Mate, you're absolutely right. It is buzzing here in Long Beach for the 50th Grand Prix of Long Beach. So much fun around the streets this weekend. James Townsend, when we look at the fights out there, and we look at who has made up position and who has lost position, if you're Colton Herta right now, how angry are you? How do you keep it together, given that you started this thing on the front row with a grid, and now your teammate sits so much further ahead, and you're down right in the thick of a mix of a battle you shouldn't be in?
Well, but he's in the top 5 on that strategy with Kirkwood and Palou and Rosenquist. And I think one of the things that Colton Herta has been so great at is keeping his cool over the last couple years, not having a meltdown on the radio or behind the wheel. As we ride on board, Colton Herta makes some adjustments to his brake bias knob. He's cruising right now, and he knows he just has to let things play out, trust the team. We don't know what led to this. We don't know if it was a problem on pit lane, maybe got blocked on an in-lap. Who knows what put him in this situation. But this is where he is, head down. He's won here before. He's just got to click off the laps and follow the team's direction.
This is it. Head down, eyes forward. Make this strategy work. Meanwhile, race leader Christian Lundgaard with a 1.6 second advantage over Scott Dixon. With more on him, Kevin Lee.
Comfortable, so that is what positive for Lundgaard. To remember, this is a brand new car. He could have started up near the front in the Firestone Fast 6, but he crashed in qualifying, and they had to go to a spare tub today. So he's learning that car, but he said it feels the same. But just in general, he's still adjusting. He said the car feels very different than what he had at Ray Hall and Lanigan. That might be bad news for everybody else, because he's finished 8th and 3rd in the first 2 races and has an opportunity here today.
One of the things I noticed, guys, is that Christian Lundgaard has actually started to close the gap a little bit on Kyle Kirkwood. Remember, before we went to break, I believe it was at about 32 seconds. I see the gap now right at about 31. It was at 30 last lap. So Christian Lundgaard, with that clean air, nobody in front, he is getting the pace done.
And it's just such an unfortunate thing for him. He had the mistake right here in qualifying, hit that wall. As you heard Kevin say, this team here late last night switching over to the spare chassis, the spare tub. And look, T-Bell, you know what it's like. As a driver, you can have a spare car rebuilt by the same people, doing the same thing with the exact same setup, but every car just feels a little bit different. And this is the first chance that Christian's getting to really drive this thing in anger. They had warm-up this morning, but it's always different under the pressure of the race.
This is going to be a crucial part of the race for the top 6 drivers who all started on the hard tire. There were some suggestions these tires might last around 23, 25 laps, which would mean they'd have to be on a 3-stopper like everybody else. If they could move it beyond that, beyond 25 laps, then they could theoretically have this at a 2-stop race. But as you say, that gap back to Kirkwood in 7th, it needs to be increasing. At the moment, it is shrinking. Lundgaard running 1 minute 9.1s. Kirkwood also 1 minute 9.1s, but he's been losing about 4 tenths, 5 tenths every single lap. The tires, obviously, on Kirkwood's car, much fresher, much newer, a little bit more pace in them.
Probably about 10 more laps, James, until we get into the window for that top 5 driver field to start coming in. And then the question is, do you go to the softs right away for a short stint? How do you play it? Track's getting hotter, so I don't think they're going to be able to make it on just 2 stops. It looks like a 3-stopper for everybody today.
I think you push them further back if you can, man, because if you get some yellow, that's going to help you later in the race. So, I mean, these guys, They're trying to make that fuel work. And they could do it in 2 stops on fuel, but it's the tires. Will those softs last? It doesn't look like anyone had faith in that happening early.
And the skies look nothing like they did at the beginning. This is the sunshine you've been expecting, Will.
It really is. Dark clouds, though, earlier on this week, a decal that we will see on the McLaren car for John Edwards, who sadly passed earlier this week, a key part of Hendrick Motorsports. Right-hand man to Jeff Gordon, a much-loved member also of our Fox family. Back to the streets of Long Beach and the Acura Grand Prix. What a fantastic weekend it has been here. So much action every single day, so much entertainment. An absolute festival of motorsport, from historics to stadium super trucks. We've had the lot. And you don't have to wait long for the next race on the calendar of the NTT INDYCAR Series. Barber Motorsport Park, May the 4th, at the start of what is going to be a jam-packed month here on Fox. You can catch it all on Fox. Of course, the Indy 500 come along later in the month. The Indy Grand Prix before that as well. We can't wait, but right here, right now, in Long Beach, Christian Lundgaard still leads, but the question is, how much longer will these tires hold on for? The first driver who started on the hard tires to pit off those hard tires, Robert Schwartzman, means that only 5 drivers who started on those tires. In fact, it's only 4 now, because Kirkwood is up to 5th. Just the top 4 remain who started on the hard tire. How much longer can Lundgaard hang on?
Let's ride and watch. That'll tell us everything. It's all about feel. He's got fuel to burn for a few more laps, but the balance still looks pretty good as I watch him lean into the power pretty heavily. James, what do you see?
I mean, the car looks good. The lap times look good. I mean, a 1:08.8 on that last lap. He was 0.3 quicker than Dixon and 0.2 quicker than Kirkwood, so he's still getting the pace out of it.
But he is using push to pass on these laps, and he's not trying to pass anybody. He's just trying to lap faster because he's probably coming to pit lane soon. I just don't, well, it's going to be a 3-stopper for him, so he might as well come now because he's catching traffic. Yeah. Indeed he does.
So he'll come in, refuel on Shell 100% renewable fuel there in the number 7 Arrow McLaren. Our onboard courtesy of Mission today has led 20 of the 27 laps thus far held. Scott Dixon takes over the lead of the race. How much longer can Scott Dixon go? Won this race last year on a crazy strategy. So much fuel saving for him. And Kevin.
And Dixon will come in the next lap. He was told, let's go. He's going to try to make up as much time and use the overcut by staying out a lap later. And for Christian Lundgaard, he's going to the softs this time. How long can he make them last?
Fascinating stuff. So full of fuel and on the soft tire, we ride on board with Kirkwood. Keep your eyes driver right.
Now he's well past him already. You see in the track map up in the corner, which makes sense. He was never going to come out in the lead, but remember, Lundgaard started 12th. He's going to come out behind Rosenquist there. That's essentially P5, so a great jump through that strategy, but now he's got to suffer on the softs.
Everybody else has suffered. Everybody else has cleared the way in terms of that alternate strategy. That's Kyle, Kirkwood, Palou, Rosenquist. They've dumped the softs. I don't know how many laps that Lundgaard will get. Scott Dixon now coming in for the same thing. We'll have to see where Dixon blends out relative to Lundgaard. They were battling each other.
And whether he moves on to the soft or whether he stays on the hard. Decisions that will determine the outcome of this race. Kevin.
And he's doing the same strategy as Lundgaard. He's going to get his mandatory stint with the softs, the green sidewall Firestones on this time. And what is going to be fascinating is to watch the blend. That is a quick stop for the PNC Bank crew and the Honda of Chip Ganassi Racing. He screams down to turn 1. Who's going to have the advantage between him and Lundgaard on that strategy?
That stop looked faster, Will, than the one of Christian Lundgaard. So Lundgaard is on Shoreline Drive right now. There he is.
Dixon out. Will he get through before him? It's going to be tight. And Lundgaard just keeps the position.
Oh, but it's Scott McLaughlin that loses out here. Cold tires for Dixon, hot tires for McLaughlin as he tried into 4. No, he's losing so much time to Lundgaard in front.
Although soft, cold tires for Dixon will become hot, soft tires real fast. That's the difference with the softer compound. Look for Scott Dixon to be lightning quick and go right back onto the gearbox of Christian Lundgaard.
And you just compare what we're seeing him. He's already starting to pull away a bit from Scott McLaughlin compared to the drivers that we saw coming out on those hards in the middle of a pack. They were absolute sitting ducks. Herta trying to take advantage of the 3 being held up. Closing the gap there. Let's just take a look here up ahead.
Riding on board with Scott McLaughlin. That is Lundgaard to the right. Scott Dixon cuts in, no way through.
That's a 1-lane piece of racetrack there. There's absolutely nothing McLaughlin could have done there. Had Dixon been on hard tires, I think he'd have cleared him no problem, but those softs just getting up to speed. But that's forcing Dixon to push those softs hard early, and that can affect how long they last.
Body language of the cars is going to be fascinating over these laps. For Dixon and Lundgaard, with those soft tires on, how hard do they push? Do they just blast them, take the 5 laps, get rid of them? Are they going to try and maintain them, try to eke this part of the race out, take them beyond 5, towards 10? Otherwise, it's going to be, what, a lap 33, 34 stop for them. Let's take a look at Kyle Kirkwood.
That's the Honda driver spotlight, just giving you some stats there on the young Floridian, who's been a winner here in Long Beach before, from pole position, looking to make it a second sweep of pole and win through that famous hairpin.
See that hairpin? Kyle Kirkwood's right hand's not even on the steering wheel. That's how tight it is in order to clear his leg and get the hands all the way over, one-handed it rodeo style.
You saw it up there on the Halo graphic. 171 seconds left of push to pass. You get 200 seconds here at Long Beach of that push to pass. It's about a 50 horsepower boost. And Kirkwood doing a great job maintaining the lead and still having 170 seconds. Palou behind with 156. Rosie behind him, 151, as they come up on Christian Rasmussen to put him a lap down.
Recommend stiffer on the rear bar. Let us know if the front axle goes.
The voice of Brian Barnhart going to Christian Lundgaard saying stiffer on the rear bar. That's the rear anti-roll bar. That's essentially trying to take a little bit of rear grip away from it, shift the balance forward. He said, let us know if the front axle goes. So this guy is just battling understeer right now.
Strategies converging. Kirkwood leads from Palou and Rosenqvist. Lundgaard and Dixon, 4th and 5th. It's getting very tight. Welcome back to the NTT IndyCar Series on Fox, live from the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. As you can see there, Alex Palou leaving pit lane where he has been serviced and sent on his way back on the hard tire, and he had to do that. Felix Rosenqvist had come in from 3rd place. The question now is how much longer can Kyle Kirkwood go before he comes in to take his stop?
At 0, he's coming in the pits right now, guys. A leader of this race responding to what Chip Ganassi Racing and the 10 has done. So now it all comes down, Jack, to the pit crews and the outlaps.
Absolutely it does. I was chatting to the team. What they were hoping for happened. Alex Palou had to pit first. They're literally now doing his pit stop. No wing change. This outlap is so critical. Kevin, what's happening where you are?
Waiting to see Colton Herta. He'll be the next one up near the front, stopping from his position inside the top 6. Everyone is satisfied as Herta is in the tire requirement except for Stingray Robb. He has not run the soft green sidewalls yet. Everyone else likely done with the greens.
So, Alex Palou on the front straightaway. Here comes Kyle Kirkwood. Here comes Palou. Now, it doesn't look close, but Kirkwood's on cold tires. Palou will be able to catch him very quickly over the next few corners, but Kirkwood easily with track position.
Yeah, that's a big advantage to Kyle right now. It shows you that that overcut approach, going that little bit longer, that one lap longer, can really gain you some time, because I know he's still getting up to speed, but that's a big gap, Townsend. That's
and there was
a nice
little
move.
bobble on the pit stop for Alex Palou that we saw on one of the front tires, maybe.
Look at that. Palou already asking, are we safe with Rosenqvist as well? He's doing the math. He's doing the strategy from inside the cockpit. That is such an impressive thing to see right now. Rosenqvist running behind Palou by a good chunk.
We're racing those guys like Lundgaard on the other strategy.
Barry Wanzer reminding him there's other players in this race today. Christian Lundgaard's done such a great job with that alternate strategy today, running long on the hard tires. And how is his lap time? A 1:10.7. I think that soft tire starting to come apart a little bit in terms of performance. So that's something that the McLaren team needs to be studying closely and start to think about Lundgaard's next stop.
This is it. They were running 1:09s just a few laps ago. Lundgaard down to the 1:10s, Dixon into the 1:11s. How much longer can they make those soft tires last? Here we are on board with Christian Lundgaard on those soft tires. Take a look at the wear rate on that right front.
But also, we can see the gap to Scott Dixon. He's the blue and orange car that's driving into the pits. He caught some traffic there. He lost a lot of time to Lundgaard, so advantage to the 7 on this strategy. Now Christian has to push and probably is going to come in next lap to cover Scott Dixon. And Kev, you're down there waiting the 9.
So the last time Dixon stayed out a lap later than Christian Lundgaard. This time he's going to come in at least 1 lap earlier. There's no movement in the Aero McLaren 7 pit box at this point. Let's watch the PNC bank crew. It was quick the first time, but not as quick this time. A little bobble on the right rear, so they've lost a little bit of time on this stop.
Very slow on that right rear. Don't expect to see that from the 9 crew.
Slow on the right rear, slow on the in lap as well due to traffic. So this cycle has not really worked out super well for Dixon and the 9. You see the onboard there of Lundgaard. Let's see, does he decide to come in this time? He's entering turn 9. Dixon's going to slot out in front of Scott McLaughlin right now, who was running in 11th, but he's on those hards. They are cold. McLaughlin's going to be full attack.
Dixon with his mirrors full of Penske and right up the inside, and that's wonderful from Scott McLaughlin. Beautiful move.
Hard place to get it done. Now McLaughlin's teammate Newgarden trying to line up the 6th
Here comes Newgarden. See it go too easy.
Scott being smart, not defending too much. You can lose even more lap time and make yourself more susceptible to guys like Colton Herta, who's now right behind Dixon, if you go too aggressive on defense.
It was that exact situation for Scott Dixon that put him in the wall here at Long Beach with Pato O'Ward a couple years ago, and possibly lost a championship opportunity as Colton Herta goes by.
Yeah, Dixon being just really heads up. Oh God, that's getting close there in the hairpin, but getting heads up tonight. He's racing everybody. But they are in different strategies, and it's about maximizing your race time.
I'm watching the gap to Kyle Kirkwood for Christian Lundgaard now at 33 seconds. Will Lundgaard's last lap, a 1:09.0, looking pretty sporty on the softs.
Yeah, he's found some time in it. Wonder if it's just started to plateau. Maybe been able to find something that's going to keep them alive for a few laps longer. He's one of the fastest drivers on track at the moment, Lundgaard, despite the age of those soft tires.
And look, it's working out for him. We reckon it's about somewhere between 37 to 39 seconds lost through a pit cycle. And right now, he's running about that gap to just behind Felix Rosenqvist, so he would slot into an effective 4th as we see McLaughlin clear the lap down car now of Kiffin Simpson. Lundgaard's still out there trying to just make that gap even bigger, but he's got...
Let's see if he's using push to pass as he gets closer to maybe his next pit stop. Yes, you see it there, green lit up. He's burning that extra 50 horsepower of boost. We expect Christian Lundgaard to come in this lap, clean air in front of him. That last lap, still a 1:09.4.
A short stop with fuel, so it'll be quick, be ready to go. We're boxing this lap.
And that's a really important point because he's not running a full fuel stint. they're going to be waiting on the tires, not the fuel to fill, because you don't need a full tank. It's already about half full right now.
And because of that, it puts that much more pressure on the pit crews. Normally tires take 4 or 5 seconds, fuel 6, 7. Now we're going to have a half tank of fuel to get in. It is all on the 4 guns and the jack person for the 7 machine. High pressure.
Lundgaard coming down to our man Kevin Lee.
And remember, this pit lane is challenging because it is angled. It's difficult to get the fuel squared in perfectly, and this stop needs to be really, really quick because it won't take very long to fuel. Tires are done, fuel is done, Christian Lundgaard is out. How does he compare to Dixon?
A little longer than they probably wanted there on the left rear.
Just a small hesitation, but that can mean everything. You're crawling at 45 miles an hour. It's so difficult as a driver to not lose your cool. Off the button now. There goes Palou. So that's an effective 3rd in the race.
Wow.
He's got Rosenquist coming, I think, hard behind him. He's going to have to fight to keep the Meyer-Shank racing machine of Rosenquist behind. He's already now on his gearbox. This is going to be the battle for effectively 3rd.
Rosenquist with tires up to temperature. Will he have a look up the inside like McLaughlin did? Oh, he's close. He's really, really close on this short little run down to the left-hander. Rosenquist chucks it up the inside, says thank you very much, and will disappear off into the distance.
What a great start to the season for this guy, Felix Rosenquist. Excellent from the team in both qualifying and race performance. Rosenquist starting off with a 7th, a 5th, and now, as James said, podium in sight.
Stingray Rob leads from Robert Schwartzman. They on a completely different strategy to anyone else. Started on the hard, changed to the hard. They won't have to come in for some time. Stingray Rob leads. This Easter, the UFL takes over spring's biggest weekend with the Fox Football Extravaganza. First, Friday at 8 Eastern, Memphis takes on Michigan. Then Saturday at 7, Birmingham battles Houston. And next Sunday at 5, it's San Antonio versus DC. It's all next weekend on Fox. Now, Stingray Rob still leads the Grand Prix of Long Beach. A nice little moment on board, courtesy of Goodhart, as he says thank you very much to his teammate Connor Daly, who graciously allows him to swing through and maintain that lead without losing any time. Robert Schwartzman, 9.8 seconds behind him. And guys, these two drivers started on the hard, but while everybody else who started on the hard, like Lundberg and like Dixon, changed onto the soft, they decided to stay on that hard tire. That's why they're up the front and in the lead of this race and running competitive lap time. Stingray, a 1 minute 9.1 last time around. It's good pace from them both.
It's going great. I mean, last lap for Kyle Kirkwood was a 109.5. So again, clean air is king. It's going well, but we're hearing now that maybe there's a problem with Alex Palou. Kev, what do you know?
Well, he's trying to become the 6th to win the first 3 races in a season, other than his teammate Scott Dixon. It had to happen since 2006, but he said, right now, I can't turn. I'm struggling just a little bit, so see what you guys can see. How's the car handling for Palou?
This has been a common thread with most of the drivers I've talked to this weekend is understeer, especially right here in the hairpin, getting the front to work. We heard some radio communication earlier about stiffening the rear bar. Brian Barnhart talking to Lundgaard about trying to get the back of the car to stand up more and help it turn, help the front end be a little bit sharper. But it's not just Alex Palou. We understand Colton Herta with some issues. Let's listen.
There's always a broken.
Copy. Damper channels all look fine.
It's so loose in the right handers and a big understeer in the left.
So that's Colton talking about a handling imbalance. He said it's so loose in the right-handers and understeer in the left, or was it the other way around? I forget already.
That's what he said.
But that's a tough situation. So he was asking if one of the dampers had failed. That's something that can sometimes happen in these bumpy street tracks, especially when you've got big curb strikes like right there in turn 5. But when you have an inconsistent balance left to right, T-Bow, that's one of the biggest challenges for a driver.
Colton Herta got into the wall with his race car early on in the weekend, so they were able to make some quick repairs, and then he got into the back of Jacob Abel this morning in the warm-up. So the Gainbridge Honda has seen some wall banging so far this weekend. Hopefully he's able to drag this thing to the finish. But Colton Herta, not the kind of day so far he was expecting after starting on the front row.
Yeah, they started 1st, 2nd, and 5th. They run at the moment 3rd, 9th, and 14th, the 3 Andretti Global cars. But it's Stingray Rob who still leads from Robert Schwartzman. A word for Rob, who's moved to Hunkost this year, feels much more at home, really enjoying his time there. They brought on Adam Carroll, former racer, as we sit on board, courtesy of Goodhart once again. Adam Carroll, brilliant racing driver, won the A1 GP title for Ireland, raced in Formula 3. Nice move again from Stingray Rob as he now scythes his way through the lapped cars. And Adam's been brought on as a driver coach for Stingray Rob, helping him to just put things together this season. Still so young in his career. Connor Daly, of course, his teammate, son of Formula 1 and IndyCar driver Derek Daly. And there is Stingray Rob, his first season with Hunkost Hollinger, named after the Chevy Corvette Stingray. There you go. Not after the Jerry Anderson series of the same name, which I thought he should have always liveried his cars like that. Anyway, leading the race, doing a fantastic job right now, Stingray Rob. The 4th IndyCar race he has led in his career, and doing so with some aplomb, still in the mid 1 minute 9s. Very tidy job, looking in control, and I don't think, guys, he needs to come in for at least another 7 or 8 laps.
That sun really has come out. It's pouring and shining on this racetrack now, just making that perfect Southern California afternoon for a motor race through the streets.
Guy who's on a really solid drive and potentially his best ever career finish. Kiffin Simpson runs in 10th right now, but on the same strategy as the leaders. His previous best, 12th, as Felix Rosenquist been chatting with his team on pit lane. Let's listen.
All right, Felix, no more push to pass. We'd like to go to red 3. Be smart with your tires. And we need an average of fuel 93.
So that's the team telling Felix, hey, stay off the push to pass, because when you use it, we're burning too much fuel. So they're starting to calculate what it's going to take to make it to the end on one more stop.
And that's interesting. He's saying no more push to pass. Felix right now sitting at 63 seconds remaining. To keep that into perspective, the Kyle Kirkwood car, 125 seconds still remaining. So it's definitely been a trigger-happy afternoon so far for Rosie, as he's been trying to maintain that position, keep that good streak here at Long Beach alive. But let's take a look back further in the grid. Newgarden, first guy to get off those softs, Jack, and how's progress going for the number 2?
The team are very happy. Kind of carrying on the conversation about fuel. They were the first people to blink. They pit very early. They do have to save a little bit. Tim told me that they're happy with the car, they're happy with what they've got to do, and also, just fun fact, Josef's on a run of 9 straight top 10s at this track, so pretty nice recovery from him and his team so far today.
Don't you jinx him, Jack Harvey. Don't you jinx him. Josef Newgarden, who won this race back in 2022. There he is in the Astemo Chevy. Colton Herta behind him, laying down the laps here on the streets of Long Beach. Stingray Rob still leads Robert Schwartzman. Welcome back to the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, where the drivers of the NTT INDYCAR Series are sharpening their elbows and going out to fight. Strategies converging, drivers getting lapped. It is non-stop action, corner by corner, lap by lap, as Scott Dixon tries to fend off Santino Ferrucci behind him. His teammate, Kiffin Simpson, having a great day at the races as Dixon now tries to make the move on the 51 car. They both get through. That's nice to put him a lap down. Now Stingray Rob, though, from the lead of the race, comes into the pit lane, meaning that rookie Robert Schwartzman is our new race leader in the Prema.
And we kind of were chatting in the break about what you would do if you were Schwartzman or Rob DePitt and go hards again. They're the only two drivers that haven't satisfied the tire rule. And if it's me, I want to put hards on again. Save the softs for the end in case there's a yellow and there's a restart. You have that extra grip.
Yeah,
could be helpful.
But if that yellow comes, you're going to have to pit to put the softs on. Everybody else will have made their stop. You will cycle to the back. But for Schwartzman, why not risk it? Give him a chance to lead some laps. Rough start to the season for the driver out of Tel Aviv, but problem-free so far this weekend. They've done a really good job. Tell you what, who's had a really good day. Santino Ferrucci started dead last.
Took the words out of my mouth.
He is up 14 spots on the lead strategy right now, doing one heck of a job for AJ Foyt, and there comes Schwartzman. Now, lap 52, he still will have to stop another time, no matter what, fuel or tires.
Hunkos have sent Rob back out on the soft tire. Be interesting to see what Prema do with Schwartzman. Of course, the team in only their third NTT INDYCAR Series race as we ride on board with the man who started on pole, with the man who is now your race leader once again, Kyle Kirkwood, courtesy of Prefab. So it's Kirkwood ahead of Palou and Rosenqvist. It's back to as you were, but these strategies are ebbing and flowing, and still no clear winner. Well, welcome back to the NTT INDYCAR Series on Fox, live from Long Beach. We ride on board with Kyle Kirkwood, the pole sitter who leads, 26-year-old from Jupiter, Florida, doing a stunning job, just as he did the last time he took pole here, where he took it to the victory. He's having a tough time of it, though, today. He has a three-time champion in his mirrors and is trying to make a very different strategy work out there on track. Started on the soft, got rid of them. Running the rest of the race on the hard tire. There is Palou. You can see that gap. It's ebbing and flowing between about 1.5 and 2 seconds. Palou, who'd had a little bit of difficulty turning the car a few laps ago, that appears to have settled itself down. But as we move into the 57th lap here, we welcome fans who are joining us after a very emotional day in Bristol. Kyle Larson, dominant on a day, of course, where we recognized on this broadcast the loss of John Edwards, who was so important to Kyle Larson and his team. Guys, a recap of this race. There was an all-Andretti front row and a great race that followed from there.
Well, Kyle Kirkwood just simply took ownership of this race at the beginning. Josef Newgarden pitting super early to get rid of those soft tires. Colton Herta would follow suit just a few laps later. The Gainbridge team get it done on pit lane. So does Scott Dixon. Little different strategy there. He went longer on the hard tires. Little issue on his right rear. Those are the converging strategies as we get down the stretch.
And here it is. You're going to see Christian Lundgaard emerging from the pit lane behind Kirkwood and Palou. He was the leader on that alternate strategy. He's done a great job right now running in fourth, having started all the way back in 12th.
So we sit on board with Kyle Kirkwood, driver's eye camera.
Hear that little lift, little fuel save on the back straightaway. We're at lap 57. That's 33 laps to the finish. We expect the final stint. If you're really pushing, you might want to leave yourself 28 laps to get it done. So maybe 4 or 5 more laps before these leaders start to pit. That's where the gamesmanship comes in. Who tries to do it by undercutting or overcutting, saving gas to the end, or pushing hard all the way? That's what determines when you come.
This is perfect. Keep doing what you're doing.
And here's the thing, guys, we thought we were going to have 2 strategies today. Start on the soft, get rid of them, run the rest of the race on hard, or start on the hard and then figure out when you run the softs, maybe as early as possible. 2 drivers have done something very different. They started on the hard, moved to hard, and have moved on to soft for now. One of those drivers is Stingray Rob, who sits 9th. If you can make these softs last to when everybody has to pit for their last stop, takes his stop around that time, that could be a top 10 for Juncos, which would be a massive result for that team.
It would be huge.
And a career best, ties the career best finish for Stingray Rob of 9th, and for Kiffin Simpson there in 10th. That would be a career best finish. So some good days on order as Alex Palou starts to reel in Kyle Kirkwood ever so slightly.
Let's hear some radio from him.
To run fast as laps you can right now.
That was quick radio. So Palou starting to get the hammer down, we know, and it was Kyle Kirkwood who told us earlier this season that the laps he spent behind Alex Palou in St. Pete, the season opener, opened his mind to how Alex Palou runs these races, how in the zone he gets, how completely to a different galaxy he's able to push his car in those laps leading up to a pit stop. Is he perhaps taking a leaf out of his book, having learned from the master just a few races ago?
Have a look on the left-hand side of the pylon, or sorry, right-hand side of the pylon right there. Push to pass seconds remaining. Impressive that Kyle Kirkwood has almost 30 seconds more. We always talk about Alex Palou's discipline, his methodical approach, but for young Kyle Kirkwood to out-discipline the surgeon in the closing laps of Long Beach, very impressive. That's going to be important as we get to the final stages.
I tell you what, I look at Robert Schwartzman, who's rookie making his debut in the championship this year. 179 seconds of push to pass left to go. He's come over from European racing this year. I wonder if anyone's told him that he has a push to pass button, because he doesn't appear to use it in any of the races.
You can see there that graphic, the battle for the lead. It's been just ebbing and flowing. This man, Kyle Kirkwood in the 27, is controlling the pace right now, Jack. What are they saying on the stand down there?
Literally, they just want to keep everything as is. They're so zoned in. Not a lot of communication, actually. I've been listening and scanning the whole time, and they're really not talking about the lot. The overcut is so powerful here. I think their strategy, they're just going to go 1 lap after Alex Palou.
Easier said than done. You have no idea how much Alex Palou is saving fuel behind you there. I mean, that could be part of the reason that gap isn't changing as we see Josef Newgarden coming in for his final stop. A little bit of that alternate strategy. First guy in the pits, first guy to do his last stop as well.
Might have to save a bit of fuel too. 30 laps to go to the close. That's not going to be an easy number.
But what this does is it puts Josef Newgarden in the position to danger zone the rest of the field. By that I mean if a caution came out because of a crash all of a sudden, Josef Newgarden would be in the sweet spot. Everybody else would pit under caution as Newgarden is back out, hoping to get ahead of this Prema car that's coming.
Don't know if it's going to stay that way.
He's got
side by
position.
side.
Oh, high percentage move there from Newgarden to back out with Callum Eilert in the Prema car coming through. So something interesting here on the pit stop. Look at Josef Newgarden waving frantically. There's an issue. Seatbelt, perhaps. Is it possible that Newgarden had a seatbelt coming loose like his teammate Will Power did at the end of last season in Nashville?
I can't see that based on how they were reaching in there. But Kev, 7's in.
Christian Lundgaard making his final stop. By the way, the last to win a race for this team, other than Pato Award, is you, James Hinchcliffe.
That is true. That is true. Some years ago, Kev, but we did it here once, back in 2017. And I really like the strategy these guys did. Christian was quick all weekend long. You know, I've been really harping on how impressed I've been with his transition to McLaren. This is a car that has been a struggle for other guys to drive other than Pato Award. This team's been built around him. The setup's been built around him as we see more trouble for Josef Newgarden. You might be right, T-Bell. That might be a a seatbelt issue. It's easy to do here because of the hairpin. You do such a big crossover with your hands and arms. Sometimes you can just catch the release latch.
This is bizarre. I mean, we don't hear about seatbelts coming loose, but for the same team to have that issue after Will Power had it, I am just really shocked as Felix Rosenqvist makes his final stop.
And this is key for the last step on that podium, because we saw Lundgaard come in. He was trying to get that stop, get out on track, and hopefully make the time up. But as we've seen today, the overcut traditionally is the one that works. Where does Rosie come out in relation to Lundgaard? We're moments away from finding out. Lundgaard's tires will be up to temperature. Rosenqvist will have to push on regardless. And so far,
there goes Rosie. The 7 is behind him, so Lundgaard's still back there by a good chunk. You see it up there on the map. And he's now got 2 cars in between him, so just advantage to Rosenqvist.
So easy brutal peasy for Newgarden to lose a lap now and basically be totally taken out of it. Was doing such a great job. It advanced so many positions. The gambles appeared to be working. He was doing everything right behind the wheel. Frustrating way.
And ultimately the man who determined pretty much every strategy we've seen today by taking that decision to pit as early as humanly possible as we ride on board, thanks to Sirius XM on the number 60 with Felix Rosenqvist. Having a great start to the season is Rosenqvist, sits 5th in the championship as things stand, with Meyer Shank just wanting to convert, get themselves up into those top 3 positions. They've had the pace all the way through. I'm hearing it was a seatbelt issue. It certainly looked that way from the onboard for Newgarden.
I've had that happen, guys. It's a terrible feeling inside a race car. You've got a 6-point safety harness in an Indy car. You have that thing strapped down as tight as you can, and when one pops, it is so uncomfortable and incredibly dangerous.
6 points, 1 lock.
Right.
That's the issue, is that lock releases and you can't get it yourself. There's no way to get that back on, especially a guy Newgarden's size with his elbows hitting the side of the tub. I'm sure he tried, but it was probably pointless.
And that's one of those tough calls for a driver. I mean, you never want to pit like that if you don't have to, but safety has to come first. You have to be able to make that call yourself.
Not if you're Paul Tracy. I think he famously for Team Penske had an undone seatbelt and did about 25 laps. I think it was at Laguna Seca to hang on and win. But he's a different breed, Will.
Palou is in.
Final stop for Alex Palou up near the end of pit lane, looking for a flawless stop. These are the hard Firestones once again. One more lap, we think, for Kyle Kirkwood. Palou is away.
And Palou pushing for a 3rd win on the bounce. To take 3 wins in a row to open the season. This is where he will push, and he pushed on his in-lap. He got that gap down to under half a second to Kyle Kirkwood. The race leader now has to put it all on the line and push with everything he's got, as Palou has to do the same.
And importantly for Palou, he has no traffic to deal with, but not the case for Kyle Kirkwood. He has now caught the back of the pack, and he is losing precious time right now. He's got to come to the box.
Got to come in. That was a devastating result. He really has to hope that the team can get the job done, that maybe Palou has a bit of a bobble, but that's not exactly what we know Alex Palou to do. As Jack, he comes to you now.
Yeah, he's literally just about to hit his marks. The most important 2 laps of the entire weekend now for Kyle Kirkwood and the Andretti team are literally happening. That in-lap, this out-lap, slight hiccup there, I would say, but pretty smooth. He's going to hustle as hard as he can down to turn 1 and hopefully get out ahead of the Palou.
Slight delay getting away for Kyle Kirkwood. The gap was half a second that Kirkwood led Palou when Palou came into the pits. Keep your eyes on your race leader exiting pit lane. Keep your eye on that number 10 on the track map, and you'll see the yellow and red DHL car in vision any moment. Running down into turn 1. Who will have the lead of this race? Kirkwood exits. There's Palou.
But we've seen how long it takes these hard tires to come up to temperature. Palou now through turn 1. He's got the bit between his teeth.
Jack talked about the overcut is usually the play here because of this, because it's so narrow. Even if Palou gets to Kirkwood right here, there's really nowhere to get by. Kirkwood has to make sure he doesn't make a mistake right here, exiting turn 5. It looked good.
It's the highest pressure situation for a driver. You're leading the race. You've got almost no grip on those cold tires, but you have to push because there's a 3-time champion breathing down your neck. Kirkwood being faultless so far. Can he hold it down into turn 9?
Brilliant job through 5 corners with Kyle Kirkwood, not making a single mistake.
His mirror's full of yellow and red into the braking zone at 9. He's done a wonderful job to keep him behind at the moment, because that is not an easy thing to do. We've seen how fast and pacey and racy Alex Palou can be in these kind of scenarios. What kind of an exit has he got? Out of 11, down shoreline drive. It's Kirkwood and Palou for the lead of the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
Both drivers on 100% button, and look at the launch that Kirkwood got. That's a nice, safe buffer heading into turn 1.
But look at the 40-second push-to-pass advantage. That's what I talked about earlier. Kyle Kirkwood sitting pretty with horsepower to burn and maintain the lead.
Yeah, he's just driving absolutely to perfection here. Great, great execution, hitting his marks, not getting flustered in a high-pressure situation.
Very Alex Palou-like performance from Kyle Kirkwood.
It is. He's out-Palou-ing Palou right now, and you love to see it.
How Palou you? How dare you? How dare you suggest anybody can match the master? Kyle Kirkwood absolutely doing it.
I'm sorry, it's blasphemous of me to say that. I would never do it again.
The chat is about Palou and Kirkwood. It's Palou's teammate Kiffin Simpson who leads the race right now in the number 8 Journey Rewards Honda. Great run from the guy from the Cayman Islands. Welcome back to Long Beach. Let's take a look at the moment of the race, sponsored by Pennzoil. And it was the moment that Kirkwood knew he had to defend with everything he's got. Palou coming fast on the faster tire. and Kirkwood having to do absolutely everything to hold him behind, and a beautiful, perfect outlap.
Yeah, Key was getting out ahead, but even more impressive, I think, was mistake-free on those cold tires with full fuel in the first 5 corners at Long Beach, as Alex Palou now seeing a pretty big gap start to grow, almost 2 seconds to Kirkwood up ahead.
Yeah, Kyle's just so in control of this race. He's done it before. He knows what it takes to get it done here. And he is just in a mindset now in that zone, just all about hitting your marks. Every brake zone, every turn-in point, every throttle application just needs to be rhythmic, just needs to be controlled. Keep up the repetition because it is going his way, just driving so smoothly.
Yeah, and you know, we would have speculated that there'd be more anxiety with Kyle Kirkwood a couple years ago, but having won at Nashville, won on the streets here at Long Beach, in a very similar like performance on both of those days. Starting up front, pristine with the execution, no mistakes. This guy has won at every single level, all through the junior formulas, race winner, championship, 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 to earn an opportunity in IndyCar, and it hasn't slowed down at the top level.
It's what impresses me the most about him. He hasn't had the big sponsors. He hasn't had the opportunities handed to him on a platter, as you can see, the Fox driver's eye view that we have, courtesy of Prefab. He's had to earn it. He's had to win a championship every year in order to get the winner's money, the winner's purse, to afford to move up to the next level. He's just so impressive.
This is a guy that likes spending his...
Over Palou. You're pulling him about 2/10 a lap right now.
Oh, that's music to the ears of Kyle Kirkwood from Brian Herta.
Yeah.
You're pulling him 2/10 a lap, 19 to go. Just cruise this thing home. You know, this is a guy that, as you know, T-Bell, just likes to spend his Tuesdays and Thursdays chilling on the water down in Florida, on his boat, fishing, surfing. He's as calm as can be outside the race car, but when he needs to, that killer instinct comes out.
He's
behind
a
the wheel.
waterman. So Long Beach, Oceanside, Nashville, Riverside. As long as he's near water, Kyle Kirkwood is untouchable, seemingly.
Yeah, he must hate Indianapolis.
there's a lake. There's a river.
Nicknamed Woody because he looks a little bit like the character from Toy Story. He is riding like the wind, Bullseye. 18 to go in Long Beach.
That's the first time I've heard that one. I won't lie. But
so troubles with Josef Newgarden with the seat belt, and troubles continue way wide in turn 5. Just tickles the tire barrier and
keeps it out of the wall.
Knocks the cap off that Modelo.
He's had such a day. He's trying to get to the bruise a little early.
Yeah, stick a lime in it. Kirkwood doing everything right, pulling out over a 2-second advantage from the man who has won every race so far this season. So far, so good. It's Kirkwood's day here in Long Beach. Welcome back to Long Beach. Coming up on Fox, NASCAR from Talladega, Sunday, April 27th, 2 p.m. Eastern on Fox. NHRA from Charlotte, that's Sunday, April 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern on FS1. And INDYCAR from Barber Motorsports Park, Sunday, May 4th, 1:30 Eastern on Fox. We ride on board with Graham Rahal and courtesy of Fleet Cost and Care. It's been a tricky day. Graham looking racy in the early laps, but so far it's his teammate Louis Foster up in 16th, who's the best RLL of the day. It's been a pretty anonymous race for the team, sadly.
Yeah, it's a bit of a struggle. I mean, we talk a lot about Graham's ability on a Sunday to kind of pull a result out of nowhere, but I mean, if the car's just not behaving, not responding the way you want it to, there's only so many strategy options you can pull off on something like this. Only 36 years old, but man, he's a veteran in the series. 294 career starts for him, as we see Palou now clearing the lap car of Jacob Abel in pursuit of Kirkwood, but that gap is growing.
Let's listen to a little radio from the race leader, Kyle Kirkwood.
We can do a little bit of overtake, efficient overtake for lap time, and then maybe just save the tires a little bit.
I'm just going to save the overtake.
Kyle Kirkwood, hey son, spend your allowance. Nope, I'm saving, Dad, I'm saving.
I'm going straight into those bonds, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna play slow and boring.
It's usually the opposite, right? Strategists saying lay off the button.
Yeah.
In this case, Kirkwood quite happy to keep that in his pocket, which I think is smart. He knows that the only thing that stands between him and victory lane right now at Long Beach is lap traffic. So wait until you absolutely need it. You don't want to be in a position where you allow Alex Palou to close up on you and you're trapped behind a lap car.
Coming up to the back of Callum Ilott. Couple of guys I want to shout out right now. This guy, Kiffin Simpson, currently sitting in P10. Ahead of him, Stingray Robb in a P9. This would be a career best result for both these two drivers today. And what about Santino Ferrucci just behind them in 11th? Started plumb last. You said earlier today, Townsend, he was your guy to watch. You're right.
They asked us who to watch. You guys looked at me funny because Ferrucci coming from 27th, but he's a racer. He's proven that for the last several seasons. And if you look at the last 3 laps for that battle for 10th place, he's quick.
Kevin Simpson doing a great job. Like you say, that's Stingray Robb. That's going to match his best. He's done it on an oval before at Gateway. Plus 16 on the day, though, for Santino Ferrucci. On board now, Dex Imaging Chevy of Scott McLaughlin. Looking back now at Colton Herta, rather, as you can see, down 4 places.
Well, Colton Herta has a broken car. He's certainly figured out how to steer it around the track. He complained earlier of inconsistent handling between left-handers and right-handers, but Herta has settled in nicely. He sits between McLaughlin and his teammate, Verizon car Will Power, and Scott Dixon hanging in there, running in 8th.
And you know what? Every single driver on their up or down positions on where they started, the only one that hasn't changed for is Kyle Kirkwood, and that's not something we've been able to say this season. We haven't had a win from pole all the way through this year. Shows the job that Kyle Kirkwood has done thus far today, in particular when you think about the man that he's had to keep behind him for the majority of this race. Alex Palou, now over 2.5 seconds behind the pole sitter.
And we talked earlier about Kyle Kirkwood driving like Palou in terms of championship execution. And if Kirkwood can keep this up, he'll be 2nd in championship points coming out of Long Beach. Pretty impressive stuff. Palou probably thinking this could be my new foe down the stretch.
12 to go in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. We will be back for the conclusion. Under 10 laps left to go here at the Grand Prix of Long Beach. Welcome back to all of those of you who've been with us from the start and those of you who've joined from NASCAR. Kyle Kirkwood leads by almost 4 seconds from Alex Palou. Yes, he's led from pole position, but it hasn't been quite that easy. He has come under massive pressure from Alex Palou. We've had only one caution, believe it or not, in the first 3 races, which would be the fewest since 1970. Let's not jinx it yet, guys.
What is going on? Where did all this good behavior come from?
It's just elite racing drivers doing what they do. You see that push to pass remaining for your leaders in the top 5 there. And let's head down to pit lane to get a little bit of information on our leader, Jack.
Yeah, one of the things I just wanted to bring attention to, there is so much talent on the timing stand at the number 27 for Kyle Kirkwood. You hear a lot the voice of Brian Herter. He's a strategist, a fantastic racing driver. They also have another fantastic racing driver, and that's Robert Wickens. He made his, he got back to racing at an elite level in IMSA yesterday. Essentially, he's the driver coach. That is not doing justice to his contribution and his impact to the entire team. He's there to try and help the drivers just find those final half a tenths, those few hundredths, which in IndyCar racing can be the difference between being on pole and being not. He is having such an impact. Shout out to Robbie. Hopefully they see this through. Only 8 laps to go.
That's a great point, Jack. And you also just look at the incredible balance and dominance of this race car, and huge credit to Jeremy Millis and his engineering team on the 27 program. They did it with Alexander Rossi for several years on this team. That led to 2 dominant wins at Long Beach, and this today is truly impressive.
Alex Palou 3.9 back, pushing on, and Kevin, it's been a good drive from him today.
It has. It won't be 3 in a row, it appears, but I think most would be interested in first, and second. And Alex Palou, like a lot of European drivers, had his sights set on F1. He was in that ladder system, but very early on, he was targeting IndyCar. In fact, in one of the several situations where he had no budget, he's never had budget, he's always been hired going back to go-karts, he reached out to Ricardo Juncos Hollinger Racing, who owned an Indy Lights, now Indy Next team, and asked, can I drive for you? I don't have anything other than my helmet. He got a nice, polite response from Ricardo and said
nothing.
Said nothing. Said nothing.
This is a short conversation.
Yeah, it's like the guy who failed to sign the Beatles.
But Alex took that rejection and kept pushing, and here he is now,
and I took
3-time champion.
Kyle Kirkwood doing the job, 7 to go. There is Alex Palou. What a brilliant start to the season, though. Alex Palou has had those 2 race wins in St. Pete and Thermal, both of them not from the front row of the grid, but having to fight his way through. But today has been bested at every turn by Kyle Kirkwood.
Colin Herta now running around a little bit further down than he would have liked to have seen. 7th right now after starting on the front row. Dixon on that alternate strategy doing a great job behind him to keep up in 8th place, up from 14th for Scotty D. And this might become a little bit of an issue down here in turn 1. It looks like Scott was on the push to pass, not quite close enough to make it happen. Colin Herta and Scott Dixon, both winners here in the past, not going to be their day today.
Dixon and Lundgaard, of course, both of them on a very different strategy to everybody else. Lundgaard running 4th, Dixon running 8th. They started on the hard, ran long until they came into the pits for their first stop, not just for fresh tires, of course, but for Shell 100% renewable fuel. And the battle remains for this final spot on the podium. We ride on board on the Sirius XM car of Rosenqvist, looking back at Lundgaard, and Lundgaard is coming for him. The gap has been cut right down. It's under half a second between the McLaren driver and the Meyer Shank driver ahead of him. This for the final spot on the podium.
Oh boy.
Lundgaard love to make it back-to-back podium.
Lundgaard looked really, really good coming out of turn 11, but he just doesn't have much push to pass left. Neither does Rosenqvist, as it goes to 0. So nothing left to defend with. Here comes Lundgaard.
Shaping him up, goes to the inside.
Out of line. Inside.
Had to do it there, had to get it done, and he executed. Rosie tried to fight it, but just gave him enough room. Heads up driving as both drivers exhausted their push to pass on that final attempt there.
This is like a video game when you're simply out of ammo at this point. Both guys, it's now hand-to-hand combat with 5 to go.
But man, again, great comeback drive from Christian Lundgaard. You hear that lift from Rosenqvist. He's having to save a little bit of fuel, not able to fight as much, and the McLaren team jacked. That's a nice way to thank your team after having to rebuild a brand new race car.
And this is a guy who has shown up. He has turned up since getting to that team, getting his feet very much underneath that desk straight away. He turned up to a team which is built around Pato O'Ward, a car which is really set up to Pato's liking, and Lundgaard saying, I'm still getting to grips with this car. He's performed sensationally.
And let's think about that. Since Pato really took over that role at that team and started developing it, you've had Felix Rosenqvist in that car. Couldn't make it work. As we ride on board with him now in this replay.
I loved how he kind of went, then held up, and then fired in with authority. Kind of kept Rosenqvist guessing. I think Rosenqvist a little unsure whether or not Lundgaard was going to really go for it.
I think Lundgaard a little unsure if he was really going to go for it, but we don't call him, what is it, Lungeguard for nothing? He knew he was out of push to pass. That was his last chance to make that move happen, committed to it, and made it work.
And it started at the hairpin with just a brilliantly executed run through the middle of the corner in that ultra slow part of the racetrack.
Just back to that point, you know, he had Rosenqvist alongside Pato. He couldn't really get the same kind of speed and fight for wins the way O'Ward could. Then he had Alex Rossi, same thing. Struggled to really get the performance out of it. Nolan Siegel's been driving that car. Teo Pourchaire's been in that car. Now you've got Christian Lundgaard, who already has one podium in the first two races, about to make it two.
I'll tell you who's looking racy here is Colton Herta, James, because 12 seconds to push to pass remaining. Will Power next car ahead, 4 seconds left. Power almost out of juice.
McLaughlin fifth, then Power, then Herta, then Dixon, 5th to 8th, split by, well, you can see it, not a lot. The cigarette paper between McLaughlin and Herta as it stands right now on the run down through Shoreline Drive with 3 to go. Herta having a look, not quite close enough for a look this time round, but you sense it's coming. Power's out of push to pass. Rosenqvist and Lundgaard out of push to pass. They are down to the last dregs in these final laps.
It's not often you see that many guys up front already out. I know there's only 3 laps to go, but a lot can happen when they're running this close together. Like you say, T-Bell, you're normally still a few in hand for that last lap if something should happen.
And that'll be good for their fuel number. 100% renewable fuel courtesy of Shell. Won't be pushing that button too much. Just got to go for it now. 2 to go. Kirkwood leads below 4.4 seconds. This the battle ultimately for 5th place between Power, McLaughlin, Herta, and that man there, Scott Dixon.
Dixon still has 15 seconds on hand as well, but time running out pretty quick. The question is, how hard does Herta try here to get himself into 6th? As the points run right now, Colton Herta sits 7th in the championship.
He'll only have a couple of opportunities before the Advanced Auto Parts checkered flag is waved here in Long Beach. What a thrilling afternoon we have had here in Southern California. Scott Dixon running 8th and trying to make the strategy work as it has done for Lundgaard.
And think about this, just behind Scott Dixon, that green, white, and black car, Stingray Robb. Look at the names that Stingray Robb is hanging on to. Easily, I think, the best drive of his IndyCar career. You've got multiple champions and race winners just ahead of you, and Kiffin Simpson on pace for his best ever career IndyCar finish. Good stuff from the young guns.
And I like that these two are that close and battling each other. There's a lot of pride on the line here. 2 young drivers, both with a year of experience in the IndyCar Series, both on course for career best or matching best finishes. Good heart on board here from Stingray Robb. Shows the gap to those champions in front.
And I tell you, the pace that Stingray's running right now, if this race was 5 laps longer, you'd have a chance of finishing 8th, 7th, 6th, maybe even 5th. He's coming. He's a half a second, 3/4 of a second a lap faster than those guys.
1 lap to go. Look at the number of push-to-pass seconds that Kyle Kirkwood is going to take with him, although you can't take him anywhere.
Kyle Kirkwood told me in the lead up to this season how much he had worked on himself, on his body, on his mind over the winter. He was so unhappy not taking home a victory in 2024. He said that was the first thing that he wanted to correct this season. The second was consistency. He has had that for the opening 3 weekends, and here in Long Beach, he has been dominant and crushingly perfect. From pole position to the checkered flag, Kyle Kirkwood wins in Long Beach. perfect run from Kyle Kirkwood. Ultimately 2.6 seconds, the gap over Alex Palou over the line. But what a brilliant race from the 26-year-old Floridian to make good on that pole position, to make good on that promise, and to get his season kick-started the way that he needed it.
And a huge tip of the hat, I'm sure, from Alex Palou as he went by Kyle Kirkwood. A salute saying, hey, I had nothing for you today. Brilliantly executed. Kirkwood second in the championship now after that stunning performance, just 34 points back of Alex Palou. That's closer, that's less of a lead than Palou had coming in.
Yeah, and let's have a word for Lundgaard. Made that alternate strategy work for him. Brilliant drive, another podium, 2 in a row now for him.
And that's got him up into 3rd place in the championship. Right now, the top 3 in this race are your top 3 in the championship, just Palou leading Kirkwood over Lundgaard. So that kind of consistency is great. Top 4, you're right.
Rosenquist 4th in points now.
Just incredible.
Fun to see some new names. 3 races in. Kirkwood, Lundgaard, Rosenquist, not the normal names we see in the top 4.
Yeah, not drivers we were seeing in the top 5 at the end of the season last year. It's great to see them up there this year. Will Power doing a good job coming back from a tough qualifying, up 8 positions for him.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Those top 4 in the race and the top 4 in the championship have never won an Indy 500.
Wow. Great point.
It is a 3rd career win for Kyle Kirkwood, coming at the track where he won his very first pole and his very first NTT INDYCAR Series race. There is something about this track, there's something about street tracks that just naturally speaks to Kyle Kirkwood, but what a consistent and impressive start to the season for him. Top 10 in qualifying and race result in all 3 races thus far run, but it doesn't get much better than leading home and winning from pole position. Something he's done here in Long Beach twice.
I texted him last night and said, hey, the swell is 2 to 3 tomorrow in Malibu. If you win, are you going to stay and surf with me? We'll have to see if he extends his Southern California visit. Beautiful day with the sun finally popping at just the right time.
Kirkwood beat his team down to victory lane.
Yeah, he's that fast.
It's a great thing to see. I mean, drivers want to win any race in the IndyCar Series.
Oh my gosh.
But this one is special.
What a race. Kyle Kirkwood reaches for the sky to celebrate the win. And we can hear from him now.
And he's at least had one teammate down here to greet him. Kyle Kirkwood is getting used to victory lane at Long Beach. 2 of his 3 wins, all 3 on street courses. And Kyle, you've just beaten the driver that some started to wonder if he was beatable at all. How did you hold off Alex Palou after your last stop and you came out right in front of him on cold tires?
I tell you what, he didn't make it easy on us. I mean, hats off to Prefab Honda today.
Hey, good job, brother.
Dude, huge one. Excuse his language. I mean, what a great day. We controlled the race from practice, right? I mean, we felt like we were in control. Really good qualifying, amazing race, amazing strategy, but it was just execution all across the board is what won us that race here today. Because if Palou was in front, he would have beat us for sure. This was a track position race here today without any yellows. And I mean, hats off to the Prefab Honda Andretti guys. Amazing job. And this is our coast-to-coast weekend with Andretti and TWG Motorsports. And to finish it off with a win, man, that is so cool, so cool. So hats off to the entire organization. They really deserve this one.
And you're second in the championship now. Is the 27 team coming?
Oh, we're trying. I said that before this weekend. This is where we turn it around. And you know, we're super happy with this win, but we're also upset that Palou finished second, right? Like, we need to start getting more of these. That's the only way to beat him. So we're going to reflect on this one, soak in this win, and then straight into Barber, where hopefully we can do this all over again. But This is a good one. It's been a long time. I had a drought last year of no wins, and this is huge for me, huge for my morale, huge for the 27 crew, huge for Honda. 50th Grand Prix here at Long Beach, right? And to win it in a Honda, the Acura Grand Prix is huge.
And a two-time winner here in the streets of Long Beach, and the team is here. Go celebrate. Kyle Kirkwood wins again.
Celebrations begin as he embraces Dan Tauris.
Jonathan S. Kirkwood.
He's led from start to finish, but as he said, Alex Palou did not make it easy. Kirkwood gets his first win of the season on the circuit where he scored his first ever win.
Favorite way of celebrating the win is going out with the team, because it is a team sport. It's not only just me in the car, it's a whole group around me. We like to get together and celebrate as a big organization.
Drinks are on Kyle Kirkwood tonight. A peerless display here in Long Beach, and there is your Advance Auto Parts checkered flag moment. A thoroughly deserved victory. A wonderful drive. There's just something about this place that meshes so well with that guy. Ultimately, the man who leads the championship and won the first 2 races of the season didn't have it in his locker to take the fight to the race winner today. We can hear now, though, from Alex Palou. He's with Jack.
The reigning IndyCar champion, Alex Palou. You're starting the season, 2 wins and a second. You've got to be happy with this, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you never feel amazing when you finish second, but honestly, the 27 car, Kyle, they were amazing all weekend, super fast. I tried my chances, but we couldn't really make it work. Had a really bad start on my side, and that kind of put us in the back foot. But anyway, I think we did the best we could. Amazing to be here second, but hopefully next year we can just improve one step.
And your family are here, your mum, your dad, your sister. It was so cool getting to see you celebrate with them. Just say what that support means to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't get to see them very, very often, living in the States, and they're still in Spain. But yeah, it's amazing. It's been 4 months since I've seen them. And for me to get them a podium, it's good. And I cannot wait for them to meet my daughter on Monday. So yeah.
Congratulations, champ.
Thank you.
Kevin?
It's back-to-back podiums now for Christian Lundgaard. He goes from 12th to 3rd, and you were the highest starter starting on the harder compound. Seemed to work pretty well. What made it work for you?
This one's dedicated to the crew. I think everybody on the number 7 Velo Aero McLaren Chevrolet got to rebuild the car yesterday. I topped the car in the crash in qualifying. This is to them. It's to John Edwards, who unfortunately passed away, close to Carl Larson, who'll join us for the month of May. So this one's to everybody on the entire Aero McLaren team.
You had a big-time overtake at the end of the race, getting past Felix Rosenqvist. It's tough to pass here. How did you get that done?
It's funny because I was on lap 42 and I saw I had 109 seconds left, and then I forgot about it. I forgot about my overtake, so I think that paid dividends at the end of the race, and we were able to get Felix there. I think he was being nice at the end there in turn 1, but I'm just proud to get this one for the team. This is the work that they put in yesterday. I told him I'll buy them a couple of beers when we got home next week, but I think giving them a trophy is good on top of that too.
Well done. Christian Lundgaard is third in the championship now. Hey, you're not done. Go celebrate. Get on up that podium. It's about time for that.
Great mature reaction from Lundgaard after putting it in the barriers yesterday and giving his team a huge amount of work to do overnight. It's Kirkwood from Palou and Lundgaard your top three. Felix Rosenqvist fourth, Will Power fifth, then Scott McLaughlin sixth, Colton Herta seventh, Scott Dixon eighth, Stingray Robb ninth, 10th, Kiffin Simpson, who also took the fastest lap, his first since St. Pete 2024.
Of the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. Let's honor our third place driver in today's race. Let's hear it for Christian Lundgaard. And here to present our third place trophy is Joe Preciado, Business Manager of the Southern California District of Laborers at LaUna. Congratulations, Christian! Now we move on to our second place finisher. Let's hear it for Alex Palou! And here to present our second place trophy is Doug Gibson, Vice President of West Sales at Cuervo Tequila. Congratulations, Alex! And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's welcome our Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach race winner, Kyle Kirkwood! And here to present the first place trophy is Lance Wolfer, Vice President of Auto Sales at American Honda.
Well, there is the top three, Kirkwood, Palou, Lundgaard. Guys, what a day here in Long Beach. What a race run from Kirkwood. Just sum up what it takes to win around here.
Well, it takes a great team. As you see, Dan Towers, the team owner for Andretti, he's invested massively to give Kyle Kirkwood and Colton Herta and Marcus Ericsson and Andretti a great race car, and they showed it to James today. Simply dominant in terms of pace. Nobody had anything for them.
Pace, but also execution, and that's been the big thing. We've seen this as the most consistent, highest performing team on average over qualifying so far this year. But they had no cars in the top 5 in points. That was saying Sundays were going a bit south. So for this team, look, we had problems on the Colton Herta machine. Marcus Ericsson down in 12th after starting 5th. So 2 out of 3 didn't perform the way you wanted, but Kirkwood managed to pull it off beautifully.
Josef Newgarden, 27th and last, of course, problems with his belts.
And it was worse than we thought. Apparently that happened 3 times in total, so twice more, which I believe when it happened to Will Power, there was multiple times in the same race as well.
But here, though, your championship standings. Palou, of course, still stands on top on 142 points, but look at that. Kyle Kirkwood up to second. Lundgaard now sitting in third, and Rosenqvist sitting in fourth. Dixon fifth, then Award, Herta, McLaughlin, Power, and Alexander Rossi completing the top 10. But that, guys, the result today for Kyle Kirkwood, it's exactly what he said he needed for the start of his season. It's that consistency. 3 top 10 finishes in a row and the win here today.
Now, some big names that you know don't populate right now, like Will Power, but he did move up 5 spots in the championship. But again, as we get closer to May, you've got Newgarden and Will Power that you know will be fast at the Indy 500. So this championship, all more than likely, going to converge and tighten up down the stretch. It's going to be a blast.
What a phenomenal weekend here in Long Beach. You enjoyed it, boys?
Absolutely. Listen, I won here in Indy Lights. You won here in IndyCar. This moment, the champagne, the sun, the partying that's just going to start for all those drivers. sweetness is all I can remember.
It's just one of the best feelings. You know, we talk a lot about this event, the history of it, how special it is to win here. Kyle Kirkwood's now done it twice in a very young career. It's a great sign of things ahead for this guy.
I tell you guys, I've been following racing around the world for years. I don't think I've ever encountered an experience, an atmosphere like the one I have this weekend in Long Beach. It's been utterly incredible. Such a thrill.
And
so much fun.
And a culinary adventure for you. There's still plenty more to explore before the day is over.
Absolutely. What a wonderful weekend. What a phenomenal race. And what an outstanding drive from Kyle Kirkwood. He didn't just take pole position yesterday. He absolutely blasted his way to pole position. A massive advantage over the rest of the field. It should have been ominous then. It should have been a warning, but nobody, not even championship leader and three-time champion Alex Palou, could have expected just how fast, how perfect Kyle Kirkwood would be today.
But at the same time, Alex Palou knows he is still doing everything he needs to do, thinking big picture, thinking long-term, thinking championship number 4.
You ever been to Alabama?
It's going to be my first time.
How cool is that? Next up,
cannot wait. Next on Fox, Extracted, and we will be back at Alabama for the Indy Grand Prix Sunday, May the 4th at 1:30 Eastern. We can't wait. Thank you for joining us here in Long Beach. For myself, Townsend, and James, it is a very warm goodbye.